Hello again. It's time for another Adam's Corner video. This time I'm doing something really special because it's Valentine's Day, folks. Yeah, and a lot of people who follow me know that there's a special person in my life, as it were. This is Rebecca Jones, or I affectionately call her Becky.
Hi there.
Yes, we have been a couple for about a half a year, and there are a lot of movies that, I'm a big movie guy, as most of you know, and I'm not sure she knew what she was getting into when she... But anyway, I have shared a lot of movies with her. Sometimes, some things we've watched more, I've rewatched after not having seen them for a while, and... some things I've introduced to her for the first time ever. So with it being Valentine's Day, I thought it would be kind of fun if we just went through the 20 films that we've watched together or rewatched in the last 6 months. And it's going to be interesting to get her reactions to some of these films. Some of them are classic films that she had just not managed to see, as you do sometimes as the years go on. So you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? Yeah, I'll put you on the spot here.
Okay, well, I am a nurse and I work in a clinic, a psychiatric nurse practitioner, and also I teach full-time online master's program as a professor. So that's what I do.
Yep, that's you. And she's very good at it, I must add. So anyway. Well, what were you going to say?
Oh, no, I'm just ready to start on movie number 1.
Let's do it. So this first movie we're going to talk about was very special to us. Sing Street. Now, we had just, the first time, we had been talking, but we had never done, I guess, an official date, or I wasn't even sure it was a date at the time. But she came over to see a movie on my projector after we had lunch, and this was it. She had talked about seeing Begin Again when we first spoke on the phone. She was a big fan of that, so this was the next film from that director who also directed the film Once. And Sing Street was just, I thought, a delightful film, and so let's hear you talk about it. What did you think about Sing Street?
Well, I love that it was set in Ireland because I had just spent a week in Ireland this summer. And this one I actually had seen one time before and I forgot. So it was my second time seeing it. And I thought it was actually really cute. It was funny. I love the relationship between the brothers and how much they're joking about their parents' pending divorce, and really, just how he fell in love with this local girl and wanted to win her heart with his vocal styling. So I really enjoyed the music in this, and especially the being set in Ireland.
Yeah, you had mentioned to me about your Ireland trip, but we really hadn't gotten into the particulars of it at that time. Like I said, this was just a couple of weeks after we had first connected. And so, we were just getting to know each other. But now, knowing you as I do, I can imagine how this movie would have been impressionable.
Yes. And Begin Again was one of my favorite movies about music. So this I would put in the top 10 about movies about music. So
it just makes you feel good, folks, if you haven't seen it. So
love story.
Yes, that it is. So spirituality is a big passion for Becky. She's really into the spiritual side of things, and I think that's a good thing. And so we started talking about spiritual films, and one of my first suggestions was Resurrection from 1980, as you see there, with Ellen Burstyn. And this is about a woman who basically, after a tragic car accident that takes her husband's life, spoiler alert, I know the movie's 45 years old almost at this point, so I don't think I'm really spoiling anything, but the character, she finds out that she has the power to heal people, and her father offers to take care of her as she's healing from her car accident, and her father's played by the great character actor Robert Blossom, who played the neighbor in Home Alone, and he's also in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which will come up. Spoiler alert, that's coming up on our list. He's the guy who claims to have seen Bigfoot. He's also plays, as I just told her earlier, a serial killer in the cult classic Deranged, which just came out on 4K. Not her kind of film, but but anyway, Resurrection is a film that was nominated for multiple Oscars, didn't win any. Ellen Burstyn got a nomination for Best Actress. Eva Lee Gallion, who plays the grandmother in the film, who's a famous acting teacher, and she was nominated for, I believe, a supporting actress Oscar. And I just think this is a beautiful film that's kind of forgotten. So let's hear what you thought about Resurrection.
Well, I thought it was a really compelling performance by Ellen Burstyn. I had not seen anything from this era in her career. And the fact that she was a spiritual healer, she did not attribute it to anything in particular. She just, basically it came about in her compassion and love for those who are suffering. And she couldn't say it came from God or anything in particular. There was no, she didn't have that religiosity that her father had. And so some people saw her as being from the devil or something like that. So she really suffered a bit. This was a difficult gift that she was given to be able to heal people physically, from their ailments. But people would come around to this small town, and I thought it was just a really... it was a good drama. I really like how they depicted her, and she didn't know why she could heal people, but she just knew she could, and she wanted to help as many as possible. And I thought it was kind of a shocking ending where the gentleman that came into her life, she had I forget the name of that actor, but
Sam Shepard.
Sam Shepard. Oh, yeah. He did a great job. They kind of fell for each other, quick romance after her losing her husband and everything. And anyway, he really struggled with because of his religious beliefs. He really struggled with her having this gift, and so I thought that was a really shocking ending, and it kind of sad in a way. So I enjoyed this movie. Had never heard of it. I was only 5 when it came out, so it wasn't on my radar at all. But I really enjoyed that. You showing me this kind of a spiritual movie.
Yeah, and it was early in our relationship. We were still getting to know each other, so it was kind of pretty heavy stuff. I can only imagine what she was thinking when she said, "Who is this guy?" But there's a great subplot in the film, too, I like a lot, that's powerful to me, about the relationship between her and her father. There's because he forced her to have an abortion.
Oh, right.
And there's a lot of resentment there, and they're trying to work out their healing, their relationship. No, it's not physical healing. Yeah,
I forgot about that. That was a good subplot.
Yeah, and he's just a stubborn man, but they eventually get there. Unfortunately, in life that doesn't always happen, but in this film they do, and it has a beautiful ending with the great Richard Farnsworth, the character actor. She visits him at a gas station on the way, and then he alludes to the fact that he'd like to travel, and then at the end of the movie you find out she's taken over his gas station so he could do his travels, and then a little sick boy shows up, and she's an old woman and she still has the power to heal, and it's just a beautiful ending. Mm-hmm. It really gives me goosebumps when I think about it. It's a beautiful movie for anybody who hasn't seen it. So we'll move along to another spiritual movie, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, a film that's near and dear to my heart. I saw it in February of '78 with my late father, and I've been a big fan ever since. You had not seen it in a while, so let's hear your take on Close rewatching. She had seen it before, but this is a rewatch.
It had been many, many years, and I love Richard Dreyfuss. Is that his name?
Mm-hmm,
this movie, he just has this sudden, compelling encounter with some aircraft, some UFOs in his town, and all these people witnessed it, and they all... Suddenly he was having these images and he could not get them out of his mind, and I really loved just it's like a saga, what he goes through. It unfortunately tore apart his marriage. Wife had to leave with the kids. She thought he was going crazy. But for me, it's interesting that you call it a spiritual movie. Some people would say it's a sci-fi or whatever, but I felt towards the end, especially you showed me the version where he gets to go inside the mothership, and I had goosebumps. It just gave me I had some kind of a visceral reaction to the encounter that he had with the little grays, I guess they're called. And so it did feel to me like extremely powerful. Hadn't seen it in years, if not decades. And I just loved it. I love the setting, going out to Devil's Tower in Wyoming, and just the man he was just obsessed with this, and he could not get it out of his mind, and just to finally link up with another I can't remember the name of the woman, the actress who
Melinda Dillon is the
right.
actress, yeah. Who will turn up in another movie we're talking about in a little bit. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, so this was just a powerful movie. I love movies about extraterrestrials. And these were actually filmed in a good light. I really liked the how they weren't seen as nefarious beings, but they were actually just very curious, and just how he. I've forgotten that when he went on the mothership, he left, and so that was just like, it sort of broke my heart at the same time. But that's where he wanted to be. So really powerful movie.
Yeah. It's funny. Yeah, I think what we did was we watched, and it has been a couple of months, folks. So, but yeah, we watched the actual version without, that was where he didn't go into the mothership, where they didn't show the interior, rather. And then I showed her as an extra, the bonus after the movie. I said, here's the version, here's what it looks like inside the ship. Because I always felt like when they show him going in the ship, which was the 1980 special edition, they added that in 1980, I always felt like that broke the flow of the movie. It's like it has a really uplifting spiritual feel to it, and then when you get to that part, it's just like the movie comes to a stop, and he's just kind of looking around inside the ship, and the movie just comes to a complete halt. It looks great as a bonus scene. It's great to see the inside of the ship, and it's nice, but I don't think it works in context with the movie. I think it breaks out the flow.
I think Steven Spielberg felt pressured.
Yeah, that's correct.
To
You're
put
right.
that in
You're right.
because they wanted to put it back out in the theaters, and
That's
I
right.
think that's where I may have seen it with my father.
Yeah, you saw it. That's right. The original time you saw it was with that version. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
but not when we watched it together. I'm clarifying. I'm sorry. So yeah, Close Encounters is one of the, I've probably seen it a dozen times, maybe more. It's just one of the great films of all time. And Spielberg said he couldn't make that film today because he said there's no way he could leave his wife and kids behind. He said that's a terrible decision.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What are you gonna do? So anyway, so the next film on our list is another spiritual movie. Actually, we've got two here from the same writer, Bruce Joel Rubin, and one of them we do not have an actual physical disc because it's not on Blu-ray, folks. It's My Life with Michael Keaton. But Ghost, that you were just holding up, is written by the same writer, Bruce Joel Rubin. Now, Bruce Joel Rubin directed My Life. He did not direct Ghost, of course, directed by Jerry Zucker. But they both have a spiritual theme, and we can tackle them both, I guess, since they're both from the same writer. We'll start with My Life with Michael Keaton as a man who wants to document his life for his unborn son using video, and we can talk about that if you want to a little bit.
Yeah, I think Nicole Kidman was his wife, and she was pregnant at the time, and he found out he had this terminal illness, and so it was just a really bittersweet movie for me, like the love that he had for this unborn child and what he was going to be missing out after with the child him not being there for the child after they were born. And so I really found it to be a sweet bittersweet romance, and just heart-wrenching, actually.
Yeah, and what did you think about the subplot about he goes to a spiritual healer with and he's trying to give him acupuncture, but he's got so much anger, with his father because he felt like his father was working all the time and
I
never.
had forgotten about that subplot, and I really think that added to it about I think he was I think he was a Chinese.
That's correct. Yeah.
Using ancient.
The late Hang S. Ingyor, I think was how you pronounce his name. He was tragically murdered. The actor was. He won an Oscar for The Killing Fields. But anyway, go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I forgot about that subplot. Now your memory is better than mine, so I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, I think that the bitterness he had for his dad, and just that was what he needed to release. And I thought that was really powerful, and that I believe also that's could be the cause of some illnesses, is just the stuck feelings we have in this case, the bitterness that he had. And so he was trying to move some energy through his body and through the acupuncture to release some of these negative feelings that he had, and so hopefully he was able to have like a cathartic, I believe, kind of experience. But it obviously didn't heal him, but it healed him emotionally.
That's right.
I thought.
Yep, that's true. Yeah. It eventually gets to a point where he's like, I can't do any more for you because you won't let things go, and
right.
It's like, it's, and unfortunately in life that does happen. But so the next film on our list is Ghost, which of course was one of the big films. I mean, we'd seen it obviously, and she had too, but there's kind of a joke here, folks, because we had gone to the pottery capital of the United States, Seagrove, North Carolina, and we had some friends who joked and said, you guys should recreate the scene from Ghost. And well, we did, folks. You can find it if you look on our Facebook pages, hers or mine, you'll find it.
The famous
there.
pottery
Yeah,
scene.
we did the pottery scene with ridiculously oversized wigs, and it was just kind of a goof, But we felt like we should rewatch Ghost to get back into the mood, and it's still good, still holds up, right? You enjoyed it?
It's hilarious. Now, Molly, girl, you were in danger.
You're in danger, girl. Molly, girl. No,
I loved it.
Molly, you're in danger, girl.
That's it. So brought back some great memories of just Whoopi Goldberg playing the medium, the spiritual medium who was able to help Demi Moore, her character, like reconnect with Patrick Swayze, and just that whole, there's all these action scenes and just so much, and really it gripped me towards the end when the dark entities came for the friend or the person who betrayed him. I forget. That really actually scared me.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
You didn't tell me
kind of
that.
scary. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was very interesting. I really did want to revisit Ghost. One of my favorite movies of younger years, and loved the story. I've always loved Patrick Swayze, and I thought it was just a beautiful love story.
Yeah.
And having learning more about the afterlife, and just it's just, I think it was, I don't know, one of my favorites, and really wanted to revisit it so that we could recreate the pottery scene.
And we did. We
Yes.
did so well. And you got teary-eyed at the end, I noticed, when Patrick Swayze goes off and he says, "You can feel the love.
Yes.
You can feel it. You take it with you.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry.
Take it with you,
Yes.
baby."
Yep. That gets me every time when he's in his light body and he
Yep.
goes off, and it's he finally his soul can be released to go on to the other side after he knows she's out of danger. It was just, oh gosh, that
Yep.
gets me.
It's a powerful movie.
Yep.
It really is. It's one of the rare movies that connected with the public, and it's actually a good movie. that doesn't often happen. Usually, a lot of films are but you can rewatch it. There's a lot to chew on there, and so yeah. So we'll move on to another one. Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. Always been one of my favorite films since its release in 2012. It came and went within 2 weeks in the theaters. And I saw it in a theater, and I was incredibly moved by this movie, and I still think it's just a very moving film. It's funny. I mean, there's a lot of humor there. But, it's Steve Carell and Keira Knightley. Yeah, the world's going to end. We're on a collision course with a foreign object, and they find each other. They're not... they're not the couple that you would expect the two people you would expect to be together, and then they find each other through circumstances, and it just has one of the most beautiful endings, I think, just so great.
What really stands out with this movie is the music, the score,
song choices. Yeah,
the song choice.
Air That I Breathe. Air That I Breathe by is used to very good effect by the Hollies. Yeah, the Hollies. Yeah.
Right, and I remember a scene when I saw this before that it wasn't in this version, and it's still racking my brain as to what happened to that scene, where she's in the airplane as his father's taken her to see her family in England, and she just wakes up from this slumber, and she realizes that her neighbor Steve Carell, who she's fallen in love with, is gone. And I just remember the air that I breathe, that was so prominent in that scene, and when we rewatched it, it wasn't in there.
Yep.
So I'm wondering what happened to that scene. Was it the Mandela effect?
Are we on an alternate timeline, folks? Ooh, scary.
Who knew? But anyway, it was a great to rewatch it. I've forgotten some of the secondary characters, like Patton Oswalt. He was hilarious,
Yep.
That other character, I can't remember this guy's name. He is just hilarious as the husband of, I can't remember. But some of these other characters, the way they deal with.
That's not Connie Britton, is it? From
it might be,
I can't remember if she's. I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and just how different people deal with the end of the world. This is one of my favorite genres, end of the world kind of movie, and I think this one has a fresh take on it. It kind of similar vein is All That Matters Is Love.
Yep.
She had the love for her family, and she wanted to say goodbye to them, and then she realized where she needed to be was with him. And in their place, they eventually wound up back together, and in the apartment complex where they realized that's all she needed, and so the love is what that really connected them and gave them solace in the end. So I thought that was just really a special way of, looking at these kind of the end of the world apocalyptic movies.
I would agree. Yeah, well, with Valentine's coming up, this next one moves right into that genre. Annie Hall. It was a first-time watch. She had not seen Annie Hall. It's one of my favorite films. Life-changing film for me. I saw it in early 1990. I just happened to wander into the video store. I'd been conditioned by my father that Woody Allen wasn't funny, and he wasn't. My father always dismissed him. I saw Annie Hall, and I realized that I'm a Woody Allen fan, regardless of what my father thought. And so I have been ever since. And so Annie Hall was just, I think, a very perceptive film about relationships. And of course, it won the Oscar, beating Star Wars for the Best Picture Oscar in 1977. And, as much as I like Star Wars, I can kind of see why, because Annie Hall is a great film, in my opinion. Now, let's hear what you think about it.
Yeah, I've never really been a big fan of Woody Allen, but I really wanted to see Diane Keaton in her younger years. I had seen her in other movies, rom-coms and things like that, but I really hadn't seen a classic movie of hers. And so this was kind of the, going back into his specialty, which I believe is the 1970s and 80s movies. And so I was like, well, let's give it a try. I thought it was cute and funny, and, the dialogue was hilarious, and sometimes what they were thinking, they'd have that subtitles. So I thought that was hilarious, because like what you're actually saying, what you're thinking, it's like communication. I talked a lot about, or it really spoke to relationships and how they evolve, especially in the beginning. So I think that kind of hit the sweet spot for me, and just enjoying Diane Keaton when she was just young, fresh woman, young woman. She's really great in this.
Mm-hmm. And we'll get to her again in just a little bit in another film that was made the same year.
Wow.
Released about 6 months apart. But we'll talk about that later. That's a little teaser, folks. So next we have Brad Status, which is written and directed by Mike White, a film that I thought it was my favorite film of 2017, I guess it was, or maybe it was 2018. I can't remember. Anyway, point is, it's 2017. It was my favorite film of its year, and it still is. I think it's just a really perceptive film about, envy, being jealous of what other people have, and trying to be content with what you do have. And of course, Mike White has gone on to have much success with The White Lotus, which we started watching here a couple of weeks ago. She had missed that, and we caught up to that, and she really enjoyed that. And so, if you're on the Mike White wavelength, I think it's just a really good film, and we'll get you to talk about it.
This one, of course, I love Ben Stiller, and this father-son kind of movie about, almost not really quite a road trip, but, going to visit colleges, and the range of emotions that Ben Stiller exhibited from initially. He became very skeptical, very envious of his son getting into this Ivy League school, and he was sort of, feeling his own inadequacies in life, and just, all the things that come about, as that tumultuous time in this young gentleman's life. And he just wants to go where he wants to go, to college, and his dad's kind of pushing him, but at the same time very jealous. And I loved how it ended up, just the range of emotions, and he kind of came all the way back around to being happy and proud and feeling good about himself for raising this young man. And I don't know, what do you think? Because, you love it. You thought it was one of his favorite.
It made me cry. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, the last scene of the movie where he's laying there looking at his son while he's sleeping in the hotel room, and he says, and I thought to myself, we're still alive. We're still alive. Meaning that, as long as you're alive, that's the ultimate joy, is if you're alive, and he's looking at him saying, well, we're still alive. And I thought, it's
what more
beautiful.
do you need? Yeah. And there was also scenes with Luke Wilson. I thought just the friendship he had, this old buddy that, always trying to one up him. And I thought that was really, it was a
and Mike White's in it too. He plays, he has an actual part in it. Remember?
Okay.
He's one of the rich friends, remember?
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's the one that the gay friend who's having. Yeah.
So,
but
it was really good, especially, it hits me in the spot, where your children are going on, and I don't know, it kind of hit me right there.
Yeah. And he, like you said, even being jealous of your children, and we're, sometimes, because it's a normal reaction to have. It's like, if my children are going to do better than me, it's like, so anyway. But it was, like I said, I just think it's a movie that shamefully did not get the recognition it deserved. but sometimes they fall under the radar. So if you're a White Lotus fan, go check it out. You'll probably enjoy it, I would say.
Yes.
So the next one is a big movie for me. Everybody that knows me knows this is one of my all-time favorites, and I think one of the funniest movies ever made. It's certainly in the top 10. Obviously you have interviewed one of the cast members, PJ Johnson, on this channel, as you know.
And he's talking about Paper Moon, 1977.
73.
Oh, 73.
73.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, the list didn't come up. Anyway, 73. My father and my mother went and saw it in the theater when it came out, and my dad was always talking about its virtues, and he was a big fan, and so when I first saw it in the 80s when I was in high school, I just immediately fell in love, or junior high school, I fell in love with it, and I've been a fan ever since, and I just think it's a great movie, and you can speak to it and what you thought about it.
I was skeptical at first because he told me it was a black and white movie, and I thought, okay, I'll bear through it. But, she did, Tatum O'Neal won, she was the youngest female actress to get Academy Award for this.
Yeah, still holds the record.
She's only 9, I think. And her father actually played the gentleman in the movie. What was his name?
Moses Prey. Addie Prey.
Right. And so they, the entire time, it's set in the Depression era, probably 1930s. So it was appropriate to have that black and white. And I really added to, it was kind of like the Dust Bowl feeling and how desolate it was at that time, and what what drove this gentleman to go and prey on, I think.
Yeah,
widows.
pray. The name Prey, and he's actually preying on people who
on widows there, and selling Bibles. Anyway, it was really good. She is such a sassy little girl in this movie, and I love PJ Johnson's portrayal of the young Imogene, the young maid for Miss Trixie. And so I really think this is a delightful movie. I really soon got over the fact that it was in black and white, and I understood the choice for that. And having never experienced Paper Moon, I thought, well, I really enjoyed this. I'm glad you shared it with me.
Yeah, well, I think it's something we'll return to at some point in time. I could see us returning to it. And this is a new 4K that Criterion had just released, and it's a beautiful transfer, just really immaculate. But yeah, it's the kind of movie that you do get repeat viewings. It does hold up, and so yeah. But I'm so glad you liked it, because I always said that I couldn't be in a relationship with anybody who didn't think it was funny.
It was funny, and it was poignant too, because all along you wonder if that really is her father, and they never answer it.
That's
in
right.
the movie.
Yeah.
So, but it makes you wonder, and I think the duo, they were really great in the film. So
I don't think we ever talked about it, but they actually turned it into a TV series. Jodie Foster played the Addie Prey character, but it didn't last very long. It only lasted like half a season. But PJ's in one of the episodes, the TV episodes, yeah.
Okay.
You can find some of them on YouTube, but I've not watched any of them. But it's...
No, I don't think this is. I don't know. I don't know if you can hold a candle to this. This is a great film.
PJ said that working with Tatum O'Neal was much preferable to Jodie Foster. She was not. She said working with Jodie Foster was not fun. I don't know. I never met Jodie Foster. That's just what she told me. So anyway, but we'll go on. Okay, so we're up to number 10, folks. We're 30 minutes into this, and Carrie from 1976. You had not seen Carrie, which was, and I think you were led to believe that it was just some blood and guts horror film. You knew the title, of course, but didn't really realize that it was about the kind of things you're interested in, the things, the unexplainable things that can't be explained, paranormal, and that's right in your sweet spot. And so, yeah.
Well, of course, you have to see this movie if you haven't. But Sissy Spacek, she was such a young, vulnerable girl, and her mother was scary in this
Piper Laurie, yes.
Oh, wow. She was just hyper-religious mother, and dragged her into the closet to pray, and just made her feel bad for even being a teenage girl. But this, I think there's a lot more to it until the very end, where we know at the end of the prom and how it kind of all turns sideways. But I didn't realize the young man that she went to the prom with, he was really doing it out of the kindness of his heart. He really felt bad. He had remorse for teasing her and all the things that had happened. when she was in school and being bullied. And so I really, it was kind of wonderful how she got to experience this wonderful date, and then it just went so horribly sideways when the girls had to do what they did. And the ending shocked me when the entire house came down. So I know that it was a horror flick, but it really wasn't till the very, very end. Everything, It was more about her telekinesis, I guess, is her her abilities, and she just, with her emotions, and I think just that age and all that, the trauma she had with her mother, and who was very controlling. I think she didn't know how to handle it, and so I didn't want to see. I kind of was hoping that, is this Brian De Palma?
That's correct. Very good.
I was hoping
I've trained her well, folks.
Right. I was hoping that he didn't go the route of, anybody with these, gifts are terrible, and, but I think she was just pushed to the absolute limit.
Yep.
And so, anyway.
And the shock at the end of the movie where the hand comes out of the ground. Boy, you jumped a mile.
Yeah, that, I was not expecting that. So, yeah, this was great. I was so inspired by it. I bought a prom dress for next year for Halloween.
For Halloween, yeah.
So we can dress up, and you're going to have to get the curly white yellow wig,
right,
blonde
I'm
wig.
going to dress up like Tommy Ross.
Tommy Ross. So,
and you know what'll happen when I do?
Uh-oh.
They're all going to laugh at you.
They're all going to laugh at you. Yeah, there was a lot of, he showed me, he mentioned about Brian De Palma, and then, so there was some really good filming technique. I don't know the back, what do you call them, set pieces?
Yeah, set pieces. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we watched 3 of the De Palma films. I plan on showing her more, folks. We haven't gotten to Blowout yet, which is my all-time favorite Brian De Palma film. But we'll get there. Yeah, maybe there'll be a sequel to this video.
So the kaleidoscopic effect that he did, that was very, very effective. Where in her mind, Carrie thought everybody was making fun of her, and really they weren't. It was just all in her mind. But the way he filmed it, and it looked like a kaleidoscope spinning around.
And the split screen, how did you like that? Where they showed different points they show Carrie's point of view, and then they show all the people being that are dying because of Carrie's unleashing her power.
Yes.
The way they show it in the split screen is just, it's amazing. And I think the way the tension is built up, with the camera following the rope that's meant to pull the bucket, and you're just waiting. Something terrible is going to happen. It's just amazingly done, I think.
Yeah, and I didn't like the John Travolta character. He was really a jerk, so I was kind of surprised. I always had a good impression. I was like, but he was really not good. So
I told you not to do that.
Yeah, he performed it well, but just to remind me, I was like, oh gosh, back in the 70s, those. Oof. Yep. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Well, folks, we're at the halfway mark, and so we'll go on and jump through these. Magnolia is a big fan. I'm a big fan of this film. Of course, the great Paul Thomas Anderson. This was his 3rd film after only 2 other films under his belt. This was a Hard 8 was his first film, and Boogie Nights was the second. And this film always made me jealous because I was his age when this movie was made, and he was 28 years old, and I was just in awe that a 28-year-old man could make a film just so full of depth and just so observant about human relationships, and just this, it's I don't know what else to say. And of course, the raining frogs, spoiler alert, just gets you every time. And I've always split this movie up since I saw it in the theater all in one sitting. And we watched it on New Year's Eve, and we had planned to split it up and watch the other half on New Year's Day. Oh, you took it all in one sitting, and it's 3 hours and 8 minutes. You didn't want to stop it. You were riveted.
No, this was riveting. And I really liked the character of John C. Reilly, the real sweet cop, and he just had his heart out for that young woman with addiction, and just how it all came around, ended up with the frogs raining from the sky. But this had so many things. I couldn't even explain it, but when the Tom Cruise character went to go see his father who was dying.
Yeah, an amazing scene.
Really cut him down to size. And then Philip Seymour Hoffman, he was the nurse, and he just was completely floored. He had to leave the room when they were talking, but and I forget her name. She's a Julianne Moore, beautiful actress, and she just did a great job. This one it's so hard to explain, but it's the intertwining of all these, I don't know, maybe 6 characters' lives, and how there's meaning to it. I can't even explain, but I loved it, and I can see why Tom Cruise, he got an award for it. So.
Yeah, nomination. Yeah, he got. I mean, he may have got a. I can't
got a
remember if he got
Golden
a
Globe.
Golden Globe. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. But he's. Yeah, the scene where he's with his father. That just blows me away because he's like I want you to die, and he goes, "Don't go, you." I won't repeat. We don't want to get demonetized here, but not that we're going to be making money on this video. But he's just like, I hate you, I love you, I hate you, I love you, and that's kind of what you go through with sometimes when you have parents who you have a difficult relationship with, and it's an amazing, scene. I think when his dad's passing.
Yeah, I think on first watch I did not like that character. I thought he was such a jerk. But the second watch I really enjoyed the Tom Cruise character,
his growth. Yeah.
Yes.
And his So we're moving along, folks. We'll get to this next one. Is The Holdovers. I don't have a physical copy of it, just a digital copy, but it was one of my favorite film of 2023, and it was a Christmas film, and the holidays were upon us, and so I suggested to you, I said, let's watch a Christmas movie you may not have seen, and you had not seen it, from the great director, Alexander Payne. I'm having a senior moment. Who also made Sideways, and he also made Election with Reese Witherspoon, many other great movies, as good as, anyway, we all know who Alexander Payne is, and Nebraska is another one. So anyway, tell us about The Holdovers. What'd you think?
Oh, wow. So Paul Giamatti played, I guess he was like a private school professor or instructor, and he got the short end of the stick, the short straw, and had to stay with all the kids at this private school who couldn't go home for Christmas, and so he was just extremely resentful. And the kids that had to stay, they were all feeling kind of left behind by their family, and so, it was just a really interesting story how this small group became a family in a short amount of time over the holidays. Just all the things that they went through, and ended up taking a road trip to Boston, I believe, to see his father. The other character's father was in a mental institution, and he just wanted to, it kind of explained why he was being such a little jerk the entire time. Really, he was hurting. He was in a lot of pain because of the situation with his parents and what his father didn't even really, couldn't really process, who he was anymore. He was so out of touch. And I just thought, seeing the arc of Paul Giamatti's character to turn from this like curmudgeon, kind of alcoholic, into this kind of caring mentor person, was really sweet.
Oh, yeah. I could tell you really liked it, and it was, I'm glad you responded accordingly, because I thought it was the best thing I saw in 2023. And Alexander Payne, his movies are just full of, like, wonderful human observations, and I love so many of just about everything he's done, even Downsizing, which was the movie that he made that got kind of stomped in the press, but even it had some interesting things going on. It's not a perfect, it's definitely flawed, but the rest of his films are damn near masterpieces, I would say. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I love the head catering lady, the chef. I'm not sure she's the cafeteria lady.
Yeah, the one whose son was killed in Vietnam. Yeah.
Yeah, she wouldn't take any crap from Paul Giamatti's character, and they, but that was just a really good character. I forget the name of the actress, but.
Joy Divine, I think, was it Joy Divine Randolph? I think that's the name, but I can't remember. Really? She was Oscar nominated, but anyway, I'm having another senior moment. Anyway, so another film near and dear to my heart is this next one, The Summer of 42, ladies and gentlemen. As you may or may not know, I previously reunited the cast of this film, minus one, Gary Grimes, who played Hermie, but the rest of the main cast members I reunited and did it on the 50th anniversary of the film. You can find that video if you just... It was on my previous podcast, Movie Geeks United, but so since I'd done that, I thought maybe you'd be interested in seeing this film, and it was a big deal when it came out. It was one of the top 5 grossing films of 1971. It was a date movie that people went to on repeat viewings. It was just not a movie they really expected to do as well as it did. It came out in the spring of the year, and it was just... It's, and it's considered to be one of those kind of forgotten early 70s movies because even though it made a lot of money, it's just kind of lost to the... People don't talk about it. It's not in the conversation as much as it should be. I think it's a great movie, but let's hear you talk about The Summer of 42.
Well, again, it's an older movie, 1971, but I think it was a nice version. I mean, I enjoyed just it being set. It was it Martha's Vineyard or one of those places in New England. That setting and
New England, yeah.
New England.
Although filmed in California, folks, so you may not know that, or you may know that, but anyway.
Right, and the sort of loosely based on the writer's own life.
Yeah, Herman Raucher.
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
So looking at it through the lens, I thought, oh, they would never make this movie now where a 15, 16-year-old young man falls for
deflowered
by a young widow. But she, Jennifer, let's see, what's her name?
Jennifer O'Neill.
Yes, O'Neill. Really, really beautiful character, and she's just, she's a war bride, and just all the emotions she's going through as her husband's sent off to war, and these young boys who are spending the summer here and just meeting up, and I don't know, it was just a real sweet movie, and kind of loosely based on the writer's life, and I thought, oh boy, I don't think they would ever make this movie nowadays.
Oh no, definitely not.
No, but
even he would tell you that if he were alive. I did talk to him before he passed, and he told me that. So, it's, I mean, I think it has beautiful cinematography by the great Robert Surtees. It captures the time and the place of the 40s, I think, in a beautiful way, but in color, of course. And it's funny, but it's sad. It's got all the, you laugh some, the scene where they go to get condoms at the drugstore, of course. And, there's some funny stuff going on, but there's also some sad stuff going on, too.
Yeah.
And it's about the lost, and it has some really profound words. I always tell you that the quote at the end of the movie, he says, for everything that we take, we lose. I'm trying to think of the exact quote, but it's like, for everything we take, we leave something behind. That's what it is. Yeah.
Right.
And he said, I lost part of Hermie that summer. I just always thought that was profound.
Yeah.
So it's just, I've seen it many, many times. Obviously, I wouldn't have had a 50th anniversary if I hadn't. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. And the poster was hanging in my home until we just recently took it down because we're selling my home at the moment. But that's another story. But it will go up in the new house. Anyway. So the next one is another film that was the movie that literally sparked my imagination. The Towering Inferno from 1974. My father and mother took me to see it in early 1975. I'd say probably around this time of the year, 50 years ago. It was probably around, I'm not exactly sure of the dates, but it was, we got it in our town around that time. And it's, it's about the world's tallest skyscraper catching on fire and all the people that are involved in trying to survive. And,
I was really excited to see this. I love the disaster movie genre, and so many good so many good actors. Paul Newman, Steve McQueen, Faye Dunaway's in it, and I will have to say, I think the effects were really good, especially for the time. It was 1974.
Practical effects, yeah.
Yes, they were amazing. The story, it kind of, for me, it wasn't as compelling, I think, as it was for you when you were a child and saw this as a little kid. For me, I was stuck sort of in that time of the way women were treated in the 70s, and I just was like, oh, I don't like this. But it was, it was well filmed, I thought. They did a good job of really depicting this fire, and so that was kind of amazing to me, but I wasn't a fan of the dialogue. That just didn't ring true for me. So,
well, we win some, we lose some, folks. What are you gonna do? But yeah, I still think it's a great movie. I think that it's amazing. For 2 hours 45 minutes, I'm just amazed. When I was 4 years old, that I sat there and basically just was entranced the entire time. My father, he regretted taking me to see it years later. He always said, shouldn't have done that, I warped you for life, but I'm so glad he did. And so anyway, what are you going to say? So anyway, so moving right along, we teased about this one earlier, another film from 1977, and this one starring, again, Diane Keaton. We don't have the actual, the case for this is at her house, actually, and it's not here. Looking for Mr. Goodbar, 1977. This is a replacement disc. There was a technical snafu on the 4K release, and so they've sent me a replacement disc. But at least you can see what we're talking about here. Looking for Mr. Goodbar, based on the true story of a school teacher who was basically got addicted to the nightlife, which led to her demise in a really scary way. This film has been notoriously held up on home video because of the music rights, and they finally got them worked out, and it came out on 4K. I was so excited when I heard it was coming out. I was like, wow, this is fantastic. And so anyway, tell us about Looking for Mr. Goodbar.
Well,
what you thought.
After seeing Annie Hall and then seeing Diane Keaton in this, it made me really appreciate her as an actress, because she goes from kind of a bubblehead in a way to a very kind of woman young woman going through her sexual awakening, and then it just going way off the rails completely. And so this was a time before HIV and AIDS, and so people were just sleeping left and right, and I thought, oh my gosh, it just blew me away what she was, all these bars she was going to, and really she was just looking for love, and anyway, she met the wrong person.
Looking for love in all the wrong places,
exactly.
folks.
It was really good score, a lot of great disco songs, and from that era. So it really, really captured New York in that era. And then Richard Gere's one of the gentlemen that she meets up with, and he's kind of a ne'er-do-well, just kind of
scuzzball.
He was a scuzzball, so it was kind of an interesting character to see Richard Gere play, and I really enjoyed it. The end was very intense. The scene at the end, I don't want to spoil it, but it was super intense. I'm glad it kind of ended quickly, because leading up to that, it wasn't like that. And I really have a lot more respect for Diane Keaton now, with just seeing what she did in just 1 year alone, that the two different characters that she played.
Yeah. And William Atherton playing the guy who's trying to get in her parents' good graces. He's the one to remember the good guy.
The good Catholic
trying
boy.
to say the right things, and he's I was wondering what you'd think about it, and it's not a perfect film. I never said that it was, but I think it captures the time and the place, and knowing that it was based on a tragic true story.
Right.
And it's just so great to have it out there on physical media. It was just so hard and it's a good transfer. They did good Vinegar Syndrome, so it was great to share it with you. What can I tell you?
Yep.
So
I enjoyed it.
We'll move along to another Brian De Palma film. We said we'd do another one, The Fury, because again, you're interested in the paranormal stuff. That's stuff that interests you, and so I mentioned this to you, and you said, "Yeah, that sounds interesting. Let's do it." So we did another Brian De Palma movie, The Fury, which you can talk a little bit about it. Amy Irving returning from Carrie that he made 2 years earlier. So
this was 2 years later. She's a young woman who has some budding abilities, I will say, to I guess mind read. I'm not exactly sure. Telepathic.
Yeah.
And she went off to a school. Her mother, coming from a wealthy family, sort of dropped her off at this school, and I think it was Chicago. I think it was set in that era, and just really delve into this scene of. It was amazing how they were taking these telepathic young people and almost like a conspiracy where the government was using them for nefarious purposes. And so the Amy Irving character was really caught up in that. And the gentleman, I forget the name. Kirk Douglas. He played the father of one of the young men that was actually also from Carrie, wasn't he? No.
Andrew Stevens. No, he wasn't in Carrie, but
okay.
But he could have easily been. He would have fit in perfectly.
Yes, yeah. He also, so he was caught up in his son was basically abducted and taken into this kind of a underground place where they were doing these doing research and trying to use his telepathic skills. But it was wow, this was action filled, and it didn't disappoint as far as Brian De Palma goes. You could tell it was one of those, but it did have to end in such a bloody way, and I thought, oh no, why are they always doing it to these people? Yes. So that was a little bit, I was kind of hoping it wouldn't end like Carrie, but it did.
Yep. It's the great director John Cassavetes plays the shadowy government man, of course, the one and he literally explodes, folks. Spoiler alert! He literally explodes at the end of the film.
Oh my gosh!
But he had it coming to him. You got to admit, he had it coming. So anyway, but yeah, I think you were talking about set pieces earlier, and I think it has some of the great De Palma set pieces where she's escaping from the not the asylum, but the little the institute.
Right.
She's escaping from the institute, which leads to tragedy for Kirk Douglas's girlfriend, played by Carrie Snodgrass, and it's just so well staged. It's just amazing. I think how it's done, and it's done in slow motion, of course, like the typical Brian De Palma stuff, that you expected and or would come to expect, But anyway, yeah, it's De Palma, and if you've been there, you know what to expect. So we'll talk. There's one more De Palma as we come along.
It was definitely exciting.
I'm glad you liked The Fury. Well, we'll move along to another film, Chariots of the Gods. We don't have the disc here. It's it's at your place. But we watched that again because you're interested in those sorts of things, the unexplained. And this is a 1970 documentary that does, I'm not saying that everything in it is maybe exactly, can be, maybe it may be what happened, it may not be, but it offers some explanations potentially of how we got here or how religions were started, and just it's got some incredible photography of some of the things that we really don't quite understand, like the Easter Island statues and things like that. And it's an interesting movie, I think. But let's hear you talk about a 1970 documentary, Chariots of the Gods.
Well, when you told me it was filmed in 1970 or came out in I was amazed because it was just crisp and just far-reaching. All the places they went, it was so well researched. I was so surprised with how nice it looked on film. It was a gorgeous documentary, and I thought it was very compelling with all the different questions it brought up about ancient civilizations, and really I thought it was great. There's a second part I want to see.
Mysteries of the Gods, narrated by William Shatner. It's a continuation, and we just haven't gotten to it, but we will. We'll get there.
So I'm glad we saw a documentary together because we haven't.
Yeah, that's true.
Up to this
that's
point,
true.
And I know that you like them a lot.
Yeah. There's documentaries nowadays are better than narrative films, it seems. But anyway, that's a whole other story. So Capricorn 1 is another film. Yeah, we skipped that one. Thanks for pointing that out. That was another one. Yeah, my son's a big fan of this, as am I. It's about 3 astronauts who they are supposedly headed to Mars, and then they tell them, well, we can't get you to Mars, so we're going to pretend like you went to Mars. And then when the rocket ship they were supposedly in burns up on the way back, they find out they're expendable. And so it is a conspiracy thriller, like I said, and we watched it in a new version. My son actually has it. I don't have it with me. It's Imprint Films, which is an Australian label. They put out a extended version of this film, which is rarely seen. It has a longer sequence at the end of the film where where one of the astronauts is hanging on an airplane. And being chased by these shadowy government. There's another shadowy government film for you folks after The Fury. But yeah, what'd you think about Capricorn 1? Let's hear it.
Well, this one I had never heard of until you explained it to me, and I said, well, let's see it. And OJ was in it, OJ Simpson.
Oh yeah.
I was surprised,
And the two Barbara Streisand's husbands, two of them.
Two of them played the other astronauts, and so they were all, I think, great. Did a great job in their parts, and really made you feel like you were with them as they were out in the desert trying to run away in all different directions. They were pilots, and they were and they were astronauts, so they had all this training, and they knew like survival methods, and they did not. They were really hanging in there. So I thought that it was very well acted in the desert scenes, and the chase scene with the helicopters chasing them when he's on the biplane. That was amazing. So I just was really surprised this movie was actually made, and it looked like NASA had helped a lot of the.
Yeah.
They had the actual emblems and everything like that, and I thought, having just toured the Kennedy Space Center a couple weeks prior, I don't think NASA would have supported the making of this movie because of the conspiracy element.
Yeah.
And
She has a relative who works for NASA, so we'll just full disclosure, folks.
Right. So I thought, oh wow. So it was a fascinating movie. I'm really glad you showed it to me. I sort of had this bias against 1970s movies, and I'm coming around now. I think that there's some really great gems that you've picked out.
I'm glad to hear that. That warms the cockles of my heart, let me tell you. And there's nothing better than warm cockles. Anyway, JFK, the Oliver Stone film, another conspiracy theory film, about the potential reasons for the assassination of John F. Kennedy in 1963. We'll let you talk a little bit about what you thought about Oliver Stone's JFK, and I think it's an amazing piece of work. But let's hear it.
I did too. I like Kevin Costner, and I had never seen this movie before. For whatever reason, it just came out in a time I was in high school at this time. It just probably wouldn't have interested me. But now, looking back at it, wow, you have to watch it a couple of times. It is there's a lot to it, a lot of stories being woven in, a lot of history about what was going on with the Cuban Missile Crisis. So there was so much there, but they really brought a lot of questions to mind as to what really did happen. And so I thought it was amazing that this Kevin Costner character was actually, it's true that this
Jim Garrison,
Jim Garrison, actually, he was the only person who brought somebody to trial for the assassination of JFK. So it was a very compelling movie. I think we watched it in one sitting.
Oh, we did divide it up.
We did we divide it up?
Yeah, we did. It's 3 hours 26 minutes.
Okay. That we had to do it in two because it could hurt your brain. But
it's a lot they're throwing out at you, and
but really, really good actors. Joe Pesci. They had Tommy Lee Jones, Kevin Bacon,
Donald Sutherland,
Donald Sutherland, Gary Oldman.
John Candy playing a serious part for a change.
Yeah. Oh no, he was funny in that.
Yeah. Well, he's kind of funny. Yeah. But he's supposed to be playing a serious part.
Right. So no, it was great.
It's the kind of movie they don't make anymore, folks.
Nope.
Not sadly.
Nope.
Yeah. But and so finally, as we reached the 1 hour mark almost, another Brian De Palma, Snake Eyes. I'd gotten a review copy of this in, and it was just sitting there on top of the stack. And we didn't do a lot of premeditating on this one. I said, hey, here's another De Palma. You want to watch it? Yeah, sure, let's try it. So not one of De Palma's best films, but an interesting film, I think. And so we'll let you talk a little bit about Snake Eyes.
Well, I liked it. Nicolas Cage, playing a slimy character.
Imagine that.
In Atlantic City, and but he turned, he decided to make good on, something and become a better cop throughout the course of this movie. His conscience wouldn't let him go along with the bad guys. So I thought for a movie set in one night, I think it moved very quickly. Yeah. I think what was really interesting was the opening scene that just went on for like 20 minutes. It almost seemed like it was one shot, I think. It probably
that's right. Yeah.
So I thought that was fabulous as far as filmmaking, and Nicolas Cage's character, he just cracked me up. But I think it was an interesting film to watch.
Glad to hear you enjoyed it.
Yep.
Well, I think we're at the end of this little video. I just thought it was interesting to do something different for Valentine's Day. I thought it'd be nice to have my Valentine here, and we'd talk about the things that we've shared in our 6 months together thus far, and we hope to have a sequel coming up maybe a couple months down the road as we move along. So thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. Hey, we'd love to hear what you got to say. And, thanks again for listening, and or because this is going to go out on the podcast too, so it's going to be a double episode, a video and a podcast.
And keep those discs spinning.
There you go. Yeah, listen to you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.